Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our high school football week 7 recap show. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts along with our opening guest as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are American Legion Post 272 on Mountain Road, Crystal Bob at Iron Valley Real Estate, the Tire Mart, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Sam Hartley Decking, Payor Apparel, Larry Bragg at Payor. We're going to talk about him and Payor a little bit later when we hand out our Players of the Week t-shirts. Tonino's Pizza, Hoffman Ford, and Ted's Bar and Grill. Thanks to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. Okay, so I'd like to thank Penn Live. We've been thanking Penn Live every week. I use a good number of their photos. They have professionals there, and they take these great photos, and I do use some of them on the air. So thank you to Penn Live for having such great photographers on your staff and allowing us to borrow some of your photos. Upcoming, our upcoming opening guest, our coach guests, we have one coming tonight. I'm going to keep that coach a surprise if you don't already know. But in the next 3 weeks, we have Coach Andrew Irby from Steel High, and then we have Coach Brett Myers from Twin Valley. And a lot of you might not be familiar with Coach Myers, or you might not remember that he was down at Middletown, had a great run at Middletown, and he totally turned the Twin Valley program around. We're excited for that. And then in 3 weeks from now, we have Dave Heckert from Mechanicsburg. I wouldn't say he turned Mechanicsburg program around because they were already pretty good, but they're a lot better now that Coach Heckert's there. And so we're excited. We have some great coaches upcoming in this next 3 weeks. So I have tonight half of our panel of experts. I have Dave Berman, voice of Delco Dave Berman, and Travis Waters, and we're gonna tough it out, guys. We're gonna be fine, without the other guys. Whenever Terry's not here, Terry Clark Jr., we miss him. He's a great asset. And of course, Eric Thomas is, I think, watching baseball. He's a Yankees fan. So let's bring in our opening guest. Dave, drum roll. Do we do a drum roll for this guy? Coach Joe Headen. How are you, Coach?
No drum roll.
Okay.
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing tonight?
We're well, I believe. I can only speak for myself. Travis, you're still good to go there, right?
I think so.
Yep, you're fine. Yeah, he was buffering. Sometimes you don't get the greatest connections, Coach. So, Coach, I'm going to start with a question or two, and then we're just going to kind of round robin things here. And the first thing I want to say is I think you're in like your 23rd or 24th year. Is that right?
23rd year at McDevitt. At Susquehanna Township. But if you include my years from McDevitt, Cumberland Valley, and Harrisburg, it's actually year 30.
Okay, and you don't look old enough to be coaching for 30 years, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I feel like it, but no, it's been definitely a great journey for 30 years.
So I did a little bit of research today, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're 7-0 for the first time in your history at Susquehanna Township. I'm pretty sure. You've had some good seasons. And I could tell you weren't even sure about that. You're probably taking things a game at a time, right? Just trying to win the next one in front of you. But how do you keep your guys like kind of emotionally grounded? They have to be excited, and they should be excited. They've earned the right to be excited, Coach. But how do you
no doubt
that they're just focusing on the next game?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, if you're playing any sport, I don't care if you're coaching or playing tiddlywinks or checkers. If you win 7 in a row, you are super excited about it. But I think that it's been within our program for years. We've always just talked about being so cliche-ish, but being 1-0 at the end of the week. Mm-hmm. So for us, the kids really have been attacking it just 1 week at a time. No matter how many games we're in, it's still the focus is just let's be undefeated at the end of the week. Let's be 1-0 at the end of the week. So I don't think it has really taken a different aura for them. I just think that they're remaining focused and trying to keep, we've been using the phrase, the main thing, and that's be 1-0 at the end of the week.
Right. Okay, let me ask you this. What gives this team the kind of their identity? You've had all these teams, 23 now. What makes them kind of different from the rest? I use this term, like what's their DNA? You know?
Well, I don't think they're so much different from the rest of the players we had in the past. I think that the thing that they have going for them is experience. Like this group has been playing together ever since they were in youth football. But then from a high school perspective, this is the group that's been playing since freshman year. David
Kind of
touched on it
waiting
earlier.
for him, right? You're kind of waiting
Yeah,
for this.
and Dave talked about earlier, freshman year make the playoffs, and then sophomore year, and we've all you can ask for is to develop and get better each year, and they've done that. And this year is sort of at that point now. They know it's the last ride as a group of seniors, but they're also bringing along our underclassmen, and we have a handful of juniors and sophomores that are contributing and being deliverers, and then we have a good amount of ninth graders that are playing JV right now. So again, I think we attribute, I think the identity to is just the experience and the growth that we've had in the program the last couple of years.
So you're kind of set up nicely. Have some good balance there from ninth grade to 12th grade. That's a coach's dream right there. That's exactly what you want, right?
Yeah. It definitely is. You love to have more numbers, and I think as Travis and Dave, you guys get around, probably know numbers in football have dwindled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you teeter on whether or not you have a freshman program, or how many are you just going to have them play JVs. But I think for us, the last 3 years, it's helped us because those kids have been around the varsity program, coming in from eighth grade, taking their lumps, and I think that those experiences are helping them become better students of the game and fitting into what we're trying to do with our program.
Good. Dave Berman, want to jump in here, bud?
Yeah, it's looking at my history. So you were hired April 11th, 2003. An article on you in the Harrisburg Patriot, my archives, and you replaced the legendary For Chapman.
Yes, sir. Harry, here he is. That's my guy.
Yeah. So and then it's a great article. So yeah, just keep it going. I mean, it's nice to follow you guys from down here in Delaware County. You have any contacts? You know any coaches down here in the Philly area?
Oh, for sure, for sure. In the off season, the one thing that I really cherish is the relationships I have through the PSFCA. So getting to know all the guys down in the Philly area has been real good. We have our monthly meetings or our tri-monthly meetings. So, getting to know the guys at Roman Catholic and Malik, who just left Martin Luther King to go coach at Lincoln University, and all the other, Troy Gore, who was recently at Cheltenham, and I've had a long time relationship with Coach Albie, who I consider not only a friend but somebody who I lean on and pick his brain every now and then, and
Albie Crosby,
Albie Crosby, no doubt, Coach Albie
I did
Crosby.
get a picture with him in the preseason when they scrimmaged Chester. There you go.
Okay. And just more all the coaches in that area really developed good relations with them, and it's good football, and we all get a chance to learn from each other, and I like following them and seeing what they have going on as well. So it was very fortunate enough this year, very fortunate enough to coach some of those guys in the Big 33 too. So to get the guys from Emotep, coach them, and coach the guys from Roman Catholic and those guys from all around Delco. As a coach, you get to meet these players and see that we're all in the same boat and watch them develop and look forward to them playing at college level. So no doubt, definitely good ties with myself and the guys down around the Philly and Delco area.
Wonderful. How about Travis? You might know more. You know the most about the school that he coaches at. That's for sure. Let's bring in Travis Waters.
It's a little bit, it's interesting. I go back we'll be at Matt Ortega on last week. I go back a long way with Matt Ortega. Go back even farther back with Coach Headen. I remember, Susquehanna Middle School, St. Margaret Mary's, and Susquehanna Township practiced at the same field, and we scrimmaged about once a week. Susquehanna, St. Margaret Mary's.
Yeah, so we did. It was unique. We were right there. We were on the middle school field. You guys were on the midget field.
That was a heck of a program, St. Margaret Mary. At least they were when I. Man, they were good. They were so good. But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, both of them, because you had Coach Wright at Susquehanna Township, and Coach Riker, and all those guys were legendary guys. Coach Hodge, and all those guys that gave back to the community. And then at St. Margaret Mary's, you had Joe Martinek, you had Ron Christ, you had so many of those great legendary coaches from the area. And then the kids, like I grew up in Edgemont, so I knew Travis, like from riding bikes around and playing basketball at the local basketball courts, and and then having just relationships outside of sports. So Travis and I go back to the '80s.
I figured you might.
Yeah. So question for you. So I was at the Still High game. Quarterback Torn, he threw 2 interceptions in the first half. But I think in the second half, the plays he made were what set the game apart. So I just want to talk a little bit about what it means to you or how it helps you having an experienced quarterback who doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, and when he has a couple moments he wants to take back, he can make those plays in the clutch.
I think when you talk high school football and you have a trigger man or a quarterback that has experience, that's like a one-up. And you're 100% right, Travis. He threw a pick six. I can't remember the last time Torrin Evans threw a pick six and then turned around and had a second interception. And I think through experience and the confidence that we have in him, he kept it even kill. He came over, and you have conversations, and it's not the screaming and the hollering and hitting the nerves. It was just one of those things where he was cool. He understood, I got this. Hey, I have to do this. I got to make sure I make my reads. And he didn't get too caught up in the moment. And one thing we've been talking to our kids about all year long, and I know I hear it in their interviews and when the people are talking, we would talk about how to deal with adversity. Because as young people, whether it's in sports and in life, sometimes we don't deal with that well. And we've said as a staff, we've had some games this year at times where we've made mistakes and dealt with adversity where we wouldn't have came back or we wouldn't have had a chance to be successful. And Travis Still High was one of those. I mean, they came out and jumped on us, had a pick six, they had momentum going. And in the past, we may not have handled that well. So Torrin's experience on the offensive end has really helped. And it's like anything else. When the quarterback gets in the huddle and he can tell his teammates, hey, we're all right, we got this. And it's like, okay, we got this.
And they believe.
And that's been a plus. Yes, and 100%. They believe in him. And the crazy thing is, as a staff and even as coaches, his ability to extend plays always gives us a chance. And so they know that and they believe in that. And we're adjusted to it. Early in the year, we had to really work on, and we're going to continue to work on his extending plays and telling the lineman, hey, you get a couple holding penalties every now and then because of that. So now we got to make sure we're blocking, not getting downfield. But to answer your question, to have a veteran quarterback back there, use that term in high school sense, is definitely an advantage to us.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up just with a comment because one of the things, I think I said it the week after that game, the Sunday after that game, is that and I'm gonna put respect on Ben Dupree, but he made some Ben Dupree-esque plays in the second half when he was scrambling and throwing back across the field from the other hash. I mean, he made some incredible plays.
I tell people we've had at Susquehanna Township. I've been there all the years, and we've had some exceptional quarterbacks. We had Ray Wagner. I think people forget about Ben Moser. I go all the way back, Joe Lapkowitz, who now coaches at Harrisburg. And obviously when you look at Torrin and then you look at Ben Dupree, they've done a tremendous job, with what they do in their years. And you're right. There's sometimes I look at when Torrin hit that second gear in the one long run, it reminded me so much of seeing Ben hit a gear and go down the sideline and be able to make people miss. So, when you think you had opportunities to coach guys like that and you can compare the two, man, it's a special piece to have been a part of that.
All right. Coach, lots of blowout wins this year. I'm just going to run down the scores. 5 of your 7 games have been total blowouts. 42-14, 62-6, 55-0, 55-7 over West Perry. That's an impressive win because they bring it, man. That's a tough team, West Perry.
They're very well coached.
Well coached, very well coached, yeah. And then 21-0 at Middletown 2 weeks ago. 2 closer games. A Still High game, in my estimation, I was there. It was close for 2.5 quarters. By the middle of the third quarter, you guys kind of – I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. And then East Pennsboro, you beat by a touchdown, I think you learn more from those closer games, right? It's hard to learn from a game that you win 55-0. They feel good. Everybody has fun. We know that. But, what have you learned from those couple close games, like as a team? Like, after that game, we realized we have to start improving this, or we have to pick this up?
So a couple things, and it's funny you asked that because we talked about it this morning, and then I'll double back to what we were talking about with dealing with adversity. Going into the after Still High, you go into Middletown game, another great coached team, great coach defense by J.J. Ortiz, who I think is a great defensive mind. You find out about yourself, and you find out how you're going to deal and be able to adjust. Are your kids going to be able to take coaching and apply it? And then getting into the East Penn game, the last 3 years when we have played East Penn, it's been a dogfight. I go back to 2 years ago when we were playing for the conference championship, and we lost to them. We were up 2 scores, and they came back and beat us. And then last year's game, we were over there. We were up 2 scores, and we ended up only winning by a touchdown. And then previously, we had lost to them over there. So it's always been a pretty good rivalry between us. And there's always those certain teams that have certain teams' number.
Mm-hmm.
I equate it to the Eagles and the Buccaneers always have their little games, and they're close. And it was like for a while, the Buccaneers had their number, and then the Eagles pulled one out last week. I think when I look at us in East Pennsboro, it's that same type of story. And we thought as a staff it was going to be a pretty close game. And we made some mistakes and gave them some life and kept them around. And, and that's what good teams try to do. And you say to yourself, you hope you don't have to see them again, because you possibly could, because that's a good football team.
Yep. Yes, it is.
It could be right now coming into this weekend, you were ranked number 8 in the state of PA in 4A, with Thomas Jefferson losing, Twin, and also Jersey Shore getting blasted by Hollidaysburg. You guys could move up. But it's good for the program, great for the kids. I do last few years. It's good to promote it and get it out there, and it's a great thing.
Hey Dave, I agree with you there. From a community program and school standpoint, it's a great thing, to be recognized for the work that the kids are doing and the players and the coaches are putting in. But then the flip side of that, as the coach, you tell we can't get caught up in that piece there, because we have a goal. We know what our thing is. We know what, and I say this with respect to everybody, but we know what our kryptonite has been. And our kryptonite has been not winning a playoff game. So our kids understand that rankings and everything else don't mean anything unless you qualify for the tournament and you go in and you do whatever you can to come out on top in the playoff game. And just like in any sport, Travis will tell you, Joe will tell you, the first round game is the hardest game.
Yeah.
And we're not banking on anything getting the playoff. We're still 1 week at a time, but we realize that's the main thing. And I've been talking to my friends, Herb and Coach Irby and Coach Ortega, and picking the brains of guys who are there perennially, and trying to, hey, what are you guys doing this time of year when you don't want your kids to become complacent? What are you doing when they got to take care of their bodies? Like, there's a lot that goes into it, So yeah, the recognition is great, but we got to focus on all the other little pieces as well.
That's the 10th anniversary, 10 years ago, 2015, and your best
15.
playoff run. You beat Manheim Central in the District 3 semifinals, AAA back then, and then had a run in the McDevitt, gave them a good battle in the championship.
Yeah, and that season there, we had beat McDevitt during the regular season, and then I got to that district final and ended up losing by 7 in a defensive struggle. And that game came down to 2 interceptions. Usman Kamara had a pick 6, and at the end of the game, we're driving to try to score, and Kobe White had an interception as well. So again, those fresh in the coach's mind, and I talked to the kids about it. It's been 10 years since we've made those types of runs, but we don't try to make that the story right now. But in the back of my mind and our staff's mind, it's there, and we're going to make sure we get our kids in a position to hopefully have that opportunity.
Nice. Travis, anything else?
Yeah, just a quick question just about coaching in general. You 23 years at Susquehanna Township. That's and I think Wector's been at McDevitt longer, correct? I don't know if
a year or two, right? Year or two longer.
Weck's first year at McDevitt was my last year at McDevitt. That would have been 1998-99, because then I ended up going to Harrisburg the following year. So yeah, tenure wise as head coach, yes, Webb would be he'd be the elder statesman of the mid Penn.
So as far as the mid Penn, you're probably the second longest tenured coach in the
Yeah.
mid Penn. So my question around that, as coaching myself, I don't think people realize how much time a football coach puts in through film and just. I mean, you are managing, 50 to 70 young men, and preparing for practice, and that grind for 23 years. And I know you have to be competitive. You're obviously competitive. You want to help young men. But how do you keep the water, the glass full, as far as like just your energy and not getting burnt out?
I'm gonna tell you, Travis, it's for me, it's the love of kids. Like I want to make sure that whoever comes through my program, I help them become a better person than what they were before they came in. It's plain as day. I know that wins are great. You want to get the medal around your neck. But for me, it's just I enjoy helping young people. It's my passion. And it's one thing that I always tell my kids that come through the program, I want to be that guy that when we're done, I still want to be coach. You could be 45 years old. I still want to be coach. Like I admire the George Chomps and and the Coach Chapman's, Harry Chapman Sr., who, unfortunately died at a young age, and then Rich Lichtel and those guys. Those when I was coming up and I watched those guys and relationships they had with their players, and Rich, the guys would go to Coach Lichtel's house, and it has to be more than that. That's what it is for me. Wins and losses come. The wins are great, but I just enjoy the relationships I'm building with the kids. I was joking at a department meeting the other day, and I said if I was either a full-time coach or full-time teacher, I think I'd be great at one of them. But right now, I struggle with both, just trying to be the best I can be at it. But I enjoy it, and I wouldn't know anything else to do. Like I've always said to my wife, if I were to retire, I don't know what I would do from August to December. Like Travis, we played midget football. I think I played football, done something with football every year of my life since I've been 6 years old and we started playing youth football. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even know what comes on TV between 4 and 6 o'clock, but I enjoy it. And you're right. It is a grind. It's a grind on my family. I always thank my wife every freaking year for putting up with it, but she's been a trooper. I don't know people. I haven't told the story. My wife is from Italy, so when we first got married, she had no idea what this football thing was about, and the meetings and everything going on. And to her, it was like, what in the world is going on? And now she's on it just as much as I am. And I tell you, she could probably break down a defense or run a coverage just as good as any assistant coach or coach, somebody that just starts to coach. But she enjoys the game. But it is a stress. It's stressful on the family. My family has been great across the board. But I think football has also benefited my family. It's benefited my daughter. She's gotten to see organization and be around good people. Obviously, my son, he's making a career of it. My youngest daughter, she enjoys it. Matter of fact, we're sitting here watching the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. She's a Seahawks fan. So football has been a real unique piece in our family, and I thank them for sharing me with the people that I've worked with the last 30 years.
So let's send you out with this. I try to keep all the coaches like right at 20 minutes because I know you guys are busy. I appreciate your time. But we've been saying, I think for 2 years now, how difficult District 3 4A is, kind of like top to bottom, like the field. There's so many talented programs and great coaches. And I'm just going to mention some of them here. Twin Valley, Lampeter, Strasburg, West York, West Perry, Eastern York. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's a really, really tough tournament. And of course, Wyomissing. We had Coach Bob Wolfram on 2 weeks ago, and just talk, just generically talk about that field and how difficult, how much of a gauntlet that is. I mean, you lost in the first round last year to a really good Twin Valley team, right? And I mean, how do you can't account for that. You might get a bad draw or a tough draw. Talk about that field just to take us out with that, Coach.
Let's start with this. the teams you mentioned and the head coaches they have, that says enough.
Yeah.
Brett Myers at Middletown, phenomenal. And like you said earlier, some people forget, like they had 4 straight state championship runs when he was at Middletown. You know, he's a very good football coach. You look at Victor down at Lampeter Stroudsburg. People forget they made it to the state championship last year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget West York. You know,
really good.
And Coach Miller, very good coach, was there for a stint, coached at the college level, went back with Dallestown. Now he's back at West York. And then obviously, you know, you look at why I'm missing, and that's just that's a program. The amount of wins, the kids that come through that program, the way they do what they do. You know, when you look at 4A in Pennsylvania, it's going to go through those teams and those coaches right there. And as one of those teams in the mix right now, we have to continue to step our game up and make sure that we're getting to the point we can perform at that level and have a chance to be in the mix in the end, because it is a difficult tournament in 4A every year. But you're right. Great coaching, great football, great kids, great communities, and people that are invested in their communities and their programs. So, you know, we're going to continue to take it 1-0 at a time. But for me as a coach, in the back of my mind, I do know that we have to continue to get better and prepare for a heck of a tournament.
Thank you, Coach Joe Headen. We appreciate. Sorry, we took you a little over 20 minutes. That's usually kind of the promise I make. But you know, you've been doing this with us for 9 years now. I could show you when I think we were out at Ted's Bar and Grill one year. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
We had all the top coaches from the area. Yeah. That was like 9 years ago. So
yeah. Well, listen, I want to say you guys do a great job. It's great. You got Dave on there today. I know you have Terry on there who played for me. Travis, who I consider not only a friend but just a great mentor, and you know, and mentoring aspect of educating. Because Travis and I, we taught at Harrisburg, we taught at Susquehanna. Now Travis is at Shippensburg University, and you know, I've been seeing him on the sideline now taking pictures. So, you know.
That was actually my brother. That was my younger brother.
I saw your brother, but weren't you?
Yeah. At the York Rose Bowl, yeah.
At the Rose Bowl, because your brother was at the Still High game. So no doubt. So, but thank you for having me today.
We just wish you have the next practice, have a good practice, and we won't take it out any further than that. How's that sound?
That's all we got to do. That's it. 1-0 at the end of practice, no doubt.
We wish you well, Coach. Have a great Sunday evening.
Yes. Thank you, guys. You're welcome.
Yep. Take care. Wow. What a great freaking guest. What a great interview. Great man. I was just talking to a friend earlier today. I said, if I had a son, you know, and I do, but he's 36. I said, I'd want him to play for Coach Joe Headen. You know, simple as that. So anyway, guys, it's just going to be the three of us. Let's talk a little bit of football here. I think what we normally start with is if there's any kind of real elite games, elite matchups. There was a couple good ones. I wouldn't call them, you know, kind of the caliber of a Steel High Susquehanna Township or a McDevitt Harrisburg. But Hershey Redland. Did anybody, Travis, were you watching that at all?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch it. But I did go back. I actually watched some games yesterday on YouTube. The games are on YouTube, but it appears that Redland is getting into the meat of their schedule now. And I still think that, you know, that division is up in the air. Obviously, you know, when you're playing Hershey, it's all about what's the young man's name?
Cam Sweeney. You got to try to slow him down. You ain't going to stop him. You got to slow him down if you can.
Yeah, if you don't slow him down, you're going to lose. That's just
right.
But I think Redland is going to have to, you know, get back on track. They're going to have to kind of step up their game a little bit because they're not playing the same caliber teams they were playing earlier in the season.
Their quarterback's really good. Redland's quarterback's good. Yeah. His name's eluding me right now. In fact, he won our Player of the Week a few weeks ago, but they're still good. They're just like you said. They're running into the meat of their season.
Yeah, you know? and no one's going to run through that division. They're all going to have losses.
Absolutely.
It's probably going to come down to the last week in that division.
So Hershey won the game 27-17. Here's the numbers on Sweeney. He was 23 carries. He's the quarterback now, but he runs the ball a lot. And he's big. He got really good size. 23 carries for 126 yards, a rushing touchdown. Threw the ball 3 times, completed all 3 for 26 yards. He had an interception. He returned a fumble for a touchdown, and he's the punter. He had 4 punts. They were all 35 plus yards, average of 39 yards a punt. I mean, the guy's doing a lot out there, you know.
Yeah, he's like the Ray Isom, modern day.
Right. I said this, Dave. I don't know if I was talking to you about this or not, but oh yeah, I was. It was Dave. You and I were talking. I said, Dave, do you have any older brothers? Dave said, yeah. I said, Cam's like the guy where you get all the kids together the same age, and then you ask the older brother if he wants to play with you all. Yeah. Cam's like he's so much bigger and stronger and faster. I don't know what else to say. I've watched him play like 5 games this year, and and there's a lot of good competition out there. I'm not trying to get all gaga over him, but he's just a really, really good athlete, all-around athlete.
Yeah. And I know he's a basketball player, but he's an elite football player. I think his skills in football can translate at a really high level and really take him far if that's the route he chose.
Right. Dave?
Took him to the state finals in basketball.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the private school, Newman Goretti, they could have been state champs. And when you think of Ray Isom, he was one of the star players on Penn State's last college football NCAA championship team in 1986.
Right. So let's just run down some other scores here. So most of these games we're not even going to talk about at all. But McDevitt over Cumberland Valley by 34-13.
I watched that game.
Did you? I watched a little bit of it. I had it on kind of in the background. McDevitt looked fast. They looked quick. They were just kind of like just moving the ball down the field, right? Is that what you saw?
I saw early on, Cumberland Valley couldn't block them. I mean, they played 2 quarterbacks in that game, and their quarterback was on his heels the whole game. McDevitt probably would have had more points. What's the kid? Nazir Jones. He dropped a pitch on the 5-yard line. Just wasn't here. Just dropped the pitch to turn the ball over there. But I want to say Cumberland Valley was terrible, but just McDevitt had superior athletes, and up front, Cumberland Valley struggles up front a little bit.
Yes, they do. Yep. So here's the rivalry game, or at least it used to be. I guess it still is. Central Dauphin over East, 28-18. CD was up three touchdowns most of the game, and they didn't really close out well. CD, I don't think East was ever in a position where they were going to have a chance to win the game, but Central Dauphin kind of took their foot off the pedal, I thought. But that's a rivalry game. I suppose it still is. That game, Travis, took 3 hours and 13 minutes. There was a major injury that required the ambulance to come out in the field for like a half hour. Supposedly the kid's doing well. Central Dauphin had 202 yards rushing, and that's the Achilles heel for East. They've given up 202, 237, and 174 the last 3 weeks on the ground. That's an average of 204 yards per game on the ground, and you're not going to win games giving up that much rushing yards.
Not at all. Not in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth.
No. So let's move on here. Susquehanna Township over East Penn. We just talked to Joe Headen and Coach Joe Headen, and they were up. Susquehanna Township was up bigger than that most of the game. That was the closest that East Pennsboro got, was that final 28-21 score. Shippensburg blew out Gettysburg. Line Mountain 27, Middletown 26. Now Line Mountain is a 1A team, but they're good. They just beat Susquehanna Town, or Still high. Yeah. York over Dallastown by 20. Roman Catholic blew out Cardinal O'Hara. Dave, is that a surprise that they won by that much?
Yes, I thought Prep was going to beat them. Oh, Roman Catholic over O'Hara?
Yeah. I mean, they beat them by it was 33-7.
Yeah, a little bit.
Roman's really good, aren't they?
Better. O'Hara's much better, but yeah.
They're extremely athletic. I'm going to tell you what, if Roman couldn't, it's probably too late, but if they had better special teams, they could be really good. I could see them losing a big game, just because of their special teams.
Exeter Township 42-12 over Muhlenberg. I only mention that because Exeter Township's ranked pretty high in the state in 5A. Both teams entered the game 6-0 is another reason I mentioned it. Big Spring went into West Perry, gave West Perry fits. West Perry left with a 24-17 win. Both teams entered 5-1 overall, 3-1 in the Colonial. So that was kind of a big boy Colonial division matchup there. Mifflin County gets a win after kind of stumbling for a few weeks there. They won at Waynesboro by 11, 17-7 to 6. And Central York, I mean, they're 7-0 now. They won 61-7 over Northeastern. They've outscored their opponents by an average of 58-11. And we're going to talk next week. I think we're going to hold on to next week and talk about the possibility of Central York getting out of that division and getting out of that conference altogether and maybe joining us in the mid-pen up here.
That's a struggle. Because I mean, Northeastern. That's the team that didn't York's put 90 on them or something like that, or 80.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Central York does this every week. It's not just Northeastern.
That's not the conference struggles.
If you're winning, they scored 61 on Northeastern. They're averaging 58 points. Yeah. Jay Rotz just said Northeastern is struggling mightily. So thanks for the comment, Jay, and for watching tonight. And then kind of the granddaddy of them all was LaSalle College 31, St. Joe's Prep 20. I watched every second of that game. Anybody else watch that game? Dave,
I watched some of it. I watched a little bit.
LaSalle was just better.
Yeah, they were. They had a few of my Harrisburg fans. Now, I don't know why they jumped the gun on this, because they said that LaSalle is going to be a major problem the rest of the way. I said, don't sell St. Joe's Prep short. They got to play again in 3 weeks.
I don't see it, man. I don't see it. It was more than 11-point win is an 11-point win. I get it. All right. But it kind of felt and looked, and it had the vibes of a bigger win than 31-20. Let me put it to you that way.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't want Harrisburg fans. You got to have a little bit of better attitude. I mean, if they do play LaSalle, we'll have to wait and see. But
Harrisburg has a long way to go.
A long way to go. I just whatever they did last night alarmed. It wasn't Dontrell, but it was alarmed a couple of my Harrisburg guys. Like, wow, this LaSalle team's unbelievable.
We're going to talk in a few minutes here about that. We're going to try to put together a top 4 like we've been doing every week in 6A and talk about how we're going to maybe shuffle these teams. And we might do like a top 4 or 5 overall and then throw Roman Catholic in the mix because, they're kind of they have a nice resume too. So let's go into this. I've been calling it Law and Order. I don't like that name for high school sports. We're going to call it Outside the Lines. And this is stuff that has to do with things related to high school sports, but not about the actual games, not who had how many touchdowns and wins and losses. The one thing that I'm seeing a lot more of over the last handful of years, and it's been kind of documented that there is more of this, is hazing. Okay, Travis, we talked about it, man. Mm-hmm. Our hazing, I'm 59 years old. Our hazing was they'd snap you in the rear end with a towel or something, and they would, they'd give it to you. They talk about your clothes, your sneakers are old, or but some of the stuff that's going on now, there's been seasons canceled and coaches fired this year. And I read this article, The Cost of Hazing in High School Football. A rash of recent hazing cases across the country involving high school football teams has led to firings, lawsuits, and criminal investigations. Despite 44 states having laws against hazing, there are dozens of documented cases each year, many of which involve criminal acts. A lot of this stuff is, I'm uncomfortable talking about it, but I will say a lot of this stuff is kind of like sexual in nature, like sexual assault and stuff like that. And it's not getting any better. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole article. It's like 10 paragraphs, but they're saying it's actually, as far as the documented cases go, it's actually become more common than it used to be.
Yeah, I wonder if it's more common or if it's just reported more. But there's obviously a problem. You're hearing like band hazing.
Right.
We've always had fraternity and sorority hazing, but the football stuff, here's the thing that you would think that I don't know if some of these young guys are not paying attention of what happened to the seasons of other programs, but you would think that, okay, I'm not going to put myself in that situation, because not only could you cost yourself a season, you might cost yourself an opportunity to play at the next level.
Right. There have been at least 5 high-profile cases in the news since late August. Elk Grove High School in Sacramento, California. an incident at a rival school to Elk Grove, just 5 minutes away, and Monterey Trail in California. Kentucky State Police have opened a criminal investigation into hazing-related sodomy allegations at McCreary Central High School. That's Kentucky. Hartford Technical Institute in Bel Air, Maryland. And of course, we talked about that Ursuline High School in Ohio a few weeks ago. So we're not here to, get into that any more than we just did, but it has to do with high school football, and it's not good. There are things that you hope you can you hope that the worst you're going to get out of a season is more losses than you anticipated. You know what I'm saying, Travis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were hoping to be 8-2 and qualify for the playoffs, and now we have to deal with this.
Yeah.
So
it'll cost people their jobs.
Right. So, all right. Let's move on. Next week we're gonna wait till Terry likes to do this stuff. So we're gonna wait till next week. We're gonna realign the Mid-Penn Commonwealth next week. So let's talk about the Mid-Penn standings. All right, we've gotten to the point where we can kind of talk about that a little more than we had. Let's start with the Commonwealth, fellas, and it's a three dog show here, 3-pony show. Harrisburg 6-0. This is their record in the they're 7-0 overall, but in the Commonwealth they're 6-0. McDevitt's 5-1. State College is 5-1. State College and McDevitt play the last game of the season, so one of those teams is going to have 2 losses in the Commonwealth. I can't imagine any scenario that Harrisburg loses a game from now to the end of the season. I know they've lost some big games over the years. I get that. I understand that. But I don't think they're going to lose this year in the regular season. What do you think, Travis?
I don't think so, but sometimes I'll say this. Sometimes a loss is good for a Harrisburg team. It's not the worst thing in the world. I know everybody wants to win, but sometimes it's a good thing. But I think actually they're figuring out their identity. Harrisburg wants to run the ball, and I think people know that. But their passing game is explosive and automatic, and you don't get near their. I don't know if he's been sacked all year, quite honestly.
Ooh, man.
He turned the ball over twice against Altoona, which he's not a kid that turns the ball over. I think he threw 1 pick against State College and then 2 against Altoona. I think those was only 3 interceptions, and you don't get near him. So with their receivers, no secondary can hold up with the receivers that they have.
Right. So
I think they're figuring that they can pass, and then the run can kind of, and then the passing will get the run going. So it's going to be tough beating them. I think they're playing better defensively. Not as aggressive. I'd like to see them kind of like aggressive, like McDevitt, like attacking. But I think they're playing better defensively. It's going to be tough to beat them with the schedule they have left. I think Cumberland Valley can slow them down a little bit slow the offense down a little bit, but the offensively, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up.
I think you can. I mean, I'm sure Coach Calvin Everett wouldn't want to hear me say this, but nobody would. Nobody connected closely to Harrisburg would want to hear me say crown them, at least for the Commonwealth. I think we can crown them. Dave, you've watched Harrisburg a couple of times. What do you think of Harrisburg so far this season?
Yeah, they'll go first undefeated season, regular season, in quite some time. I have to do some research on that. Playoffs. Central York maybe could give them a game. Wilson West Lawn. In District 3. If they do win that, then they will be right in the state semis, correct?
There's no promises, right?
Yeah.
Then they would play probably State College in all likelihood.
State College would have to beat
Pittsburgh.
State College would have to beat
Central
Pittsburgh
Catholic.
Central Catholic in the state quarterfinals.
Okay, yeah,
and
right.
then it would be Harrisburg, Pittsburgh Central.
My apologies. Yeah. Yep.
And LaSalle did beat State, went out to Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh Central Catholic.
Like 23-6.
23-6, and that was an impressive win, shutting those guys down. So
absolutely,
we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'd like to see Harrisburg. I'd like to see a District 3 competitive final, a District 3 6A final. I mean, that's why you play the games. That's why Central York's pumping it up, and they got a lot of athletes. I don't know. So we'll see.
Plus, here's the thing about Harrisburg too is that they have some young guys that kind of had to step in the second. They're playing better and better. But just like last year, when they played most of the season without Kevin Brown, and then when he steps in the playoffs, it's like, okay, it's a totally different team. they pretty much played most of the season without Messiah Mickens.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a terror on defense, and we know what he can do on offense. You know, I don't know if he's going to. I'd imagine he's going to come back in the next couple of weeks. When he's back, it's just going to make them that much more dangerous. But nothing's given. You know, these are high school kids. You know, so we'll see what happens.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to the Keystone. We talked just briefly earlier about this, how competitive it is. It's a fun, you know, you get McDevitt and Cedar Cliff out of there, and everything changes. But it has been fun to watch or to follow. There's 5 teams that still have a legitimate chance to win that division. Shippensburg is 6-0. They're the only undefeated team in the division, followed by Mechanicsburg at 5-1. Redland, Lower Dolphin, and Hershey all 4-2. So that's kind of fun, kind of interesting. And man, just when I think like maybe this team is the best one, then the next week I say no, it's probably this team. And but right now, Shippensburg, they're at Redland. Then they host Northern York, and then at Mechanicsburg. That's a tough. They have 2 really tough games there to try to close out the division. I'll run down this real quick. Mechanicsburg at Waynesboro, at Hershey, and then host Shippensburg. Again, 2 out of 3 games, tough games. Redland has Shippensburg is their only really tough game left. With respect to Palmyra and Mifflin County, they should be able to win those games. Lower Dolphin, they are clear of all the top dogs. They play Mifflin County, Waynesboro, and Gettysburg. So, you know, they could finish 7-2 in the division and hope that something happens to Shippensburg. And then Hershey is at Northern York. Then they host Mechanicsburg and they host Waynesboro. So, yeah, that's a lot of fun, guys. You know, just following it. I haven't been out to see any of these teams yet, regrettably, but I'm going to try to get out and watch some. So let's move on to the Colonial Division. Susquehanna Township, the only undefeated team. They still have 2 tough games left. They're at Big Spring, who only I think Big Spring's 5-2 now after losing to who did I say, West Perry maybe, and then they host Trinity, and that's become a little bit of a rivalry, that Susquehanna Township Trinity matchup. East Pennsboro 4-2, Big Spring is 3-2, West Perry's 4-1, Trinity's 4-1, and there's a lot left to be played there too. Those teams are all kind of has, you know, between 1 and 2 games left against the top teams. And then the Capital, Line Mountains 5-0, and again, I'll use this term. You may as well probably crown them because they have James Buchanan, Camp Hill, and Susquehanna left, and they're followed by Steel High. It came down to the Steel High Line Mountain game, 2 weeks ago maybe that was, and that was for the division title, and Line Mountain beat them. So anyway, let's you know what? Let's pass over. I had the district rankings. Let's wait till next week for that, because we can talk a little bit here before we. I want to talk about this. Let's try to do a top 4 in the state overall, and we usually do 6A. Now let's just do 6A. It's too much to bring in Roman Catholic and McDevitt and Pine Richland. That's impossible.
See, well, you know what, though, Joe. I would, because I would put Roman. I mean, Roman beat LaSalle, so I would 6A or not. I would put the #1 team in the state, but we could stick to 4 6A.
You know, man, I'm going to have a hard time justifying this, but I still have LaSalle #1 in the state, and I'm going to tell you why. Here's their wins. LaSalle's, I think, gets 6-1. You know, they've had 7. Their wins are they beat 6A, #4 ranked 6A Pitt Central Catholic by 17. They beat St. Joe's Prep just this past weekend by 11. They beat Malvern Prep by 7. Interact. Malvern Prep, Dave, they might be the top 3 team in the state. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. They beat the #1 big school team in the state of Delaware, Susquehanna. What is it, Dave? How do you pronounce that?
Louisiana.
Only 50 people live in Delaware.
Well, it's still the #1 big school. Yeah, they only have 3 divisions.
I'm just joking.
Travis, your point is valid. But still, they're the top team in Delaware. LaSalle beat them, and they beat Calvert Hall, who is currently ranked #7 in the entire state of Maryland. That is 5 studly wins for LaSalle. And then they lost by a field goal to Roman. So
let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Watching the game, I thought that LaSalle struggled with Roman's athleticism.
They struggled with it.
And
yeah.
I think there were times where Roman made LaSalle's defense look really bad.
I agree.
And if you can, and here's my thing, if you can lose that game, as bad as Roman was on special teams, there's a little more there than what we might think. Because I mean, they played basically with 2 phases of the game, offense and defense, and were just abysmal on special teams and still won that game.
Yeah. Yeah. And they won it by a field goal, but there's another game. It kind of felt like a little more than a field goal to me.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I mean?
So they scored late in the game.
Right. Dave Berman, what do you think about all these teams? I know you like Harrisburg as your number 1 overall in the state. Is that correct?
Yeah, stick with them.
I like them. I moved them up to number 2. That means I have to have Roman at 3 if we're including.
I think should drop out. They should drop down. Probably drop out like Penn State. Drop out of the
Who St. Joe's
top
Prep?
10.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Prep, right?
2-4 record. Okay.
So you're going to put Parkland in front of them, and
I'm just going by the teams that are winning. They're getting the job done, man.
Okay, that's why we're doing this. I can't tell you you're wrong. I can't tell Travis he's wrong at all about Roman Catholic.
They got to prove it next week. St. Joe's Prep. They got to play Roman.
They play Roman next week. Yeah.
And if they beat them, then they move up into the top 5 or something.
It'll move back into your conversation, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, Travis.
Well, so we're just talking about 6A schools.
Yeah, let's just talk about 6A.
I will put LaSalle number 1. At this point, I'm going to go because they played last year and Pittsburgh Central Catholic won the game. I'm going to put Pittsburgh Central Catholic 2, Harrisburg 3, and then Parkland 4.
Okay. All right. Parkland. Here's Parkland's resume. They're 6-1 or 7-0. I'm sorry. They're 7-0. They only have 1 win against a team with less than 3 losses. They've beaten a lot of bad teams, a lot of average and bad teams. Their 1 win was against Nazareth, and they did blow them out. Nazareth 6-1 on the season, and they beat Nazareth 42-6. I don't like Parkland's resume. I mean, I know they can only play the teams right in front of them, but that's just where I have Harrisburg. I had them 3 or 4 all season. I have them now number 2. Here's the problem with Harrisburg. They have no opportunity to improve their resume between now and the end of the season.
No, someone was arguing. Someone was on Facebook, and they were saying, "Well, these teams need to schedule national schedules, and if you're a mid, you can play 1 out of conference game, and that's it."
Harrisburg's schedule's tough, man.
Well, you can't. But the point is, your only opportunity is to play 1.
And they played Imhotep.
Yeah,
that's a good.
They played LaSalle last year.
And they played LaSalle last year. Exactly.
And Richland in the past.
Yeah. Well, that's somebody, I saw that, Travis. That's somebody that doesn't really have a grasp on or a full understanding of what they're faced with up here because they have to play 9 division games.
I'm going to say I might have. I see Harrisburg moving up because we know that. I mean, Harrisburg traditionally gets better and better. And by the time, playoff time, it gets cold outside, they're usually clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, I agree.
But I just because Pittsburgh Central Catholic won that game last year, I'm going to pick them ahead. Being a homer, I'm rooting for Harrisburg, though. I have to say.
Right. I just was blown away by this LaSalle the resume. The 5 of their 6 wins are just against just stud teams, just really, really good teams. So anyway, so that's it. We'll get back into that a little more. Go ahead, Dave. Did you want to say something else there?
No, I was a little stressed about the Yankee game, but that's all right.
Oh, you'll be okay there.
It happened yesterday. My goodness.
All right, so let's
great job. I appreciate what you guys do, and I'm ready for Chester Clippers, baby, taking care of business again. Blowout Academy Park, 47-0, and I'm looking forward to their game. They should go 9-0 to close out the year, regular season. and then it'll get tougher in the District 1 5A tournament because a lot of good teams, but it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be.
So let's thank Kirby Lentz for joining us again. He's here. Jay Rotz jumped in with some comments, and then also Andre Watson Sr. He said, "Great show."
Where do you know Andre from? I know you're friends with him.
I don't know. He's here on the show though, or he's here.
His son's a stud sophomore running back for Coatesville.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so keep an eye on him. I've been really doing a lot of PR for.
Jay just said, "Will the Yanks close out with an infielder on the mound?" Oh man, that's bad. So let's do this, Dave. Don't go anywhere. We just have to finish up with this.
All right.
Our players of the week. Okay, and we're gonna award or reward, or what do we use there? A T-shirt to all three of these players, and let's start with. Let's find the banner for that. That's Adam Yoder from West Perry. Look at this game, guys. 16 carries for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is a big win, too, in his team's 24-17 win over Big Spring. This guy is one of the best football players in the area. Adam Yoder will get.
He must have Mifflin County connections. That is a huge name in
it is.
Belleville, PA, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's kind of like a farming name, right?
Yoder, Peachy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so congratulations to Adam Yoder, and we're going to move next to, how about this guy here, and
Jackson Sheps, right? Jasper
Sheps, Juniata. Now
he's a heck of a safety.
He's really good. 5 touchdowns, total touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 receiving, punt return, added an interception in his team's 49-14 win over Newport. So
my old Perry County and Juniata County.
So we typically do 2. We have like 2 players of the week. We hand out 2 T-shirts. Thank you to Larry Bragg from Payer Apparel. But last night I'm checking on. I want to get an update and see how Harrisburg and Altoona finished out. And what do you know? Elias Koch. I had to break the rule. I had to add Elias to this because he's had a lot of really good games this year, and because he plays on a team that had other players that had really good games, and just I knew it was coming because Elias is one of the top players in the state. Look at this game for Elias Koch. What am I doing here?
Pure athlete, man. I mean, he get good.
9 receptions, 163 yards, and 3 touchdowns in his team's 45-7. And that's kind of a day at the office. That's probably his best offensively, his best numbers of the year. But he could do more of that if he had the opportunity. They just have so many offensive weapons. So Elias Koch, I'll be getting your T-shirt size along with Jasper Sheps from Juniata and Adam Yoder from West Perry, and we'll get the Player of the Week T-shirts to all 3 of these young men. Wonderful games.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Travis, I just hope, and I really want the Harrisburg boys basketball program to get back on track. If they can get these football guys out along with what they have, Harrisburg could have an unbelievable boys basketball team this year.
They got athletes. Hey, here we got one. Tyrone Ricks, Dave.
My man.
Your guy, Tyrone. Tent of Life is tuned in. What's up, fellas? Hello, Tyrone.
And Coatesville.
Yeah. So anyway, great show, guys. We kept it under an hour again. I knew we could handle it without our friends, without our brothers. So
Eric Thomas is stressing about the Yankees.
I'm sure he is. And then we'll just close with this. We got Coach Andrew Irby next week, followed by Brett Myers and Dave Heckert. And these are our sponsors. I won't run through them again. Take another look. They're great sponsors. Most of these sponsors have been with me for 10 years now, ever since we got started. So for Travis Waters and the voice of Delco, Dave Berman, I'm Joe Gilloway. Thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in. Enjoy your Sunday night and have a great next week. Good night.